Point 5 Video Productions present the United States Navy Flight Demonstration Team, the Blue Angels, performing in the FA-18 Hornet. You'll see breathtaking aerial maneuvers and incredibly fast action right on the deck by the hottest fighter in the Navy's arsenal.
Gentlemen, the Blue Angels, 1987. Flying Blue Angel number 1, the commanding officer and flight leader of the Blue Angels, from Portland, North Dakota, Commander Gil Roos. Flying Blue Angel number 2, the right wingman, or Marine Corps representative from Severna Park, Maryland, Captain Mark Bircher. Left wingman, from Pelham, Georgia, Lieutenant Commander Donnie Cochran. The slot pilot, from Dallas, Texas, Lieutenant Commander Pat Ross. The lead solo, from Savannah, Georgia, Lieutenant Commander David Anderson. The opposing solo, from Mount Dora, Florida, Lieutenant Wayne Mullner. The pilots and crew chiefs will now start the General Electric engines to power these FA-18s. The noise level will soon become too high for you to hear a description of the check they will be performing. However, please observe that each aircraft is carefully inspected prior to this afternoon's aerial demonstration. The Blue Angels fly the McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornet, a single-seat strike fighter, versions of which have been operational throughout the fleet since 1983. The Blue Angel diamond is rolling. You'll notice as they pass before us, the smoke is not visible while the aircraft are in afterburner. Increases. The pilots experience 4 times the pull of gravity required to round out the backside of this looping maneuver. to the right once more. Blue Angel number 5 is rolling. He will accelerate to 170 miles per hour and climb to an altitude of 50 feet. He will then roll his aircraft 360 degrees with the landing gear extended. The dirty roll on takeoff. Blue Angel number 6 is rolling. He will execute a very low, precise transition and a low-altitude aileron roll. He rolls his aircraft 360 degrees and continues to accelerate to 300 miles per hour. Pulling back on the stick, he climbs straight up into the vertical. Let's watch as he goes over the top at an altitude of 3,000 feet and an airspeed of 150 miles per hour. On his back now, completing the 1/2 cubanate on takeoff, Lieutenant Marlowe will pass before us and exit the flight line to the right. The Diamond will momentarily be making its approach to the flight line from the right. In relatively slow-speed flight, they will give you an opportunity to take a close look at that very minimum 36-inch wingtip-to-canopy separation that exists between these 4 aircraft. From the right, the Blue Angel Diamond, 1987. Approaching center point, Lieutenant Commander Anderson and Lieutenant Molnar will roll their aircraft into a 90-degree angle of bank and push forward on the stick as they perform the opposing knife edge pass. The Diamond is approaching from a maneuver I'm sure is familiar to many of you who might have seen the Blue Angels perform in the past. From the right, at 400 miles per hour, the Diamond roll. All 4 aircraft rolling as one in this graceful 360-degree rolling maneuver. Over the top, you get a plan-form view of that tight Blue Angel Diamond. Our 2 solo pilots are approaching the flight line once again, this time to demonstrate the inverted flight capabilities of these FA-18s. The opposing inverted pass. Commander Root has called for the extension of the landing gear and the hooks as they perform a maneuver attempted by no other jet flight demonstration team in the world today. From the left, at less than 200 miles per hour, the Diamond Dirty Loop. Our 2 solo pilots are approaching the flight line once again, this time Lieutenant Molnar from the right and Lieutenant Commander Anderson from behind the spectator area. Let's watch as Lieutenant Molnar performs a maximum performance, minimum radius afterburner turn, and Lieutenant Commander Anderson climbs straight up into the vertical to demonstrate the vertical climb and roll capabilities of these F-18s. To the left, the 4 Diamond pilots are now shifting to a left echelon formation. At 400 miles per hour, watch carefully as they perform their most difficult echelon rolling maneuver. Now, Commander Rood will commence a 360-degree roll into his 3 wingmen, demonstrating the left echelon roll. This is a particularly difficult maneuver, especially for Lieutenant Commander Pat Walsh in Blue Angel number 4.
We're speaking with Blue Angel Pat Walsh, and he flies in the number 4 position. Pat, could you tell us a little bit about how flying in that slot position is different from some of the other positions?
You bet. The slot is the best position to fly on the team. First of all, we get a chance to see where we're going today. Because I'm back there in the hole, so to speak, I get a chance to back up the boss. I'm the safety, so to speak, for the formation. I get to check out the altitudes, the airspeeds, the placement for the different maneuvers. It's a position that provides the best visibility, so to speak, in the formation. Different positions on the team, for example, the wingman, the right wingman, who's number 2, or the left wingman, who's number 3, their job is completely absorbed with flying the formation. Solos try to accentuate the high-performance capability of the airplane, and their job is to demonstrate that in the early part of the show. And when the show nears completion, we rendezvous for the 6-plane Delta formation, where we all finish the show together. And the guy who's got the toughest job of all is the boss. He's the guy that has to sit there and analyze how the atmospheric conditions of that particular day are affecting his placement and his maneuvers. It doesn't mean anything to have a real nice tight formation if the maneuvers are so far away that people can't see them. A lot of things going for this airplane that the A4 didn't have, and we could talk real briefly about the flight control system. If you look at the wing, you'll see that you have a leading edge extension followed by leading edge flaps. Those flaps are maneuverable. In the A4, that was a hard wing. We had slats on the airplane that gave it better aerodynamic handling qualities at slow airspeeds, but those were bolted up for our purposes. What that allows you to do with the flaps that maneuver and the digital flight control system in general is that when a pilot makes an input, say he wants to make a left turn, well, instead of just the aileron coming up on one side, the aileron going down on the other side in the A4 days, now the leading edge flaps, the trailing edge flaps, the stabilizers, as well as the ailerons all work in harmony with each other to give the pilot the most efficient, best turn that he can make. What happens is the pilot makes an input to the stick. It gets analyzed by the flight control computers. The flight control computers then move the corresponding surfaces that need to be moved in order to give him this kind of efficient turn. What that means to you standing in the crowd is that now these airplanes that are traveling 400 knots over the ground now can maneuver much more quickly and in a tighter radius in order to come back in sooner. So instead of the show having a bunch of dead spots, you know, a minute gap here, a minute gap there, we're working about 20 to 30 seconds between maneuvers for the formation, which really says a lot because that means we go out, we get turned around, and we come back in again. And that keeps things on an upbeat.
Diamond pilots are approaching the flight line once again from the right. This time, however, you should notice 2 significant modifications. While Blue Angels 2 and 3 still maintain that minimum wingtip to canopy separation, the flight leader and squad pilot are both upside down. The Blue Angels Double Farvel, 1987. Behind the spectator area, Blue Angels 5 and 6 are approaching the flight line in a line abreast formation that demonstrates the turn radius of these F-18s. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposing minimum radius turn. Let's watch as both pilots now sustain 6 times the pull of gravity required to cross their aircraft directly over center point. The 4 Diamond pilots are now stacked down and aft on a 45-degree bearing line, establishing a right echelon formation. From the right, at 350 miles per hour, the Blue Angel Echelon Parade. Setting up for their next maneuver, Blue Angels 5 and 6 are approaching the flight line in a line abreast formation directly before us. Approaching center point, they will roll their aircraft 270 degrees and cross over center point with minimum separation. Now let's go inside Lieutenant Commander Anderson's cockpit and listen to the radio calls he makes to Lieutenant Mulner.
Ready, hit it.
changeover roll complete to the right. Let's watch as they climb into the vertical. The setup for the Now that Blue Angel number 6 has your attention, and you have seen firsthand the ability of a small aircraft at high speed to enter a target area undetected. Let's focus our attention high to the right as Blue Angel number 5 completes his rendezvous with the Diamond.
Over the top at 7,000 feet, the power is eased as the aircraft round out the backside of this biplane line abreast loop.
Commander Root calls for another formation change prior to detaching Blue Angel number 5. Let's watch as Lieutenant Commander Anderson executes a split-S reversal turn back toward the flight line. He's setting up for his solo maneuver, the horizontal rolls. In order to demonstrate the tactical roll rate of these McDonnell Douglas FA-18 Hornets. Approaching center point, Lieutenant Commander Anderson will perform a series of maximum stick deflection, horizontal rolls. Ladies and gentlemen, directly before you, the Blue Angel vertical brake. From the left and right, the opposing 4-point hesitation roll. The 4 Diamond pilots are approaching for one of their more dynamic and difficult rolling maneuvers, the tuck under brake. Approaching in left echelon, each pilot will roll his aircraft 270 degrees in ripple fashion. Take separation. Rejoin Commander Root in the Diamond formation. Our 2 solo pilots are approaching the flight line once again from the right. They will roll their aircraft 270 degrees in section. Ladies and gentlemen, from the right, the double tuck-over roll. Now, let's watch as Commander Root calls, ready, brake. You should be able to follow the individual smoke trails as the 4 pilots converge with maximum speed and minimum separation. All 5 wingmen maintaining position on the leader as they roll 360 degrees over center point. Over the top, you get a plan-form view of the Blue Angel Delta formation. As they exit to the left, Commander Root is elected to lead the smoke on so that we might see how he brings the formation back to the flight line. As they commence the reversal turn, let's watch as our two solo pilots change the formation and now maintain position on the wings of Lieutenant Commander Walsh in the slot. This shift produces a formation we call the Double V. Very shortly, all 6 aircraft will be approaching for the Blue Angel fleur-de-lis. All 6 aircraft will separate, perform individual 360-degree rolls, and the 4 diamond pilots will rendezvous through a vertical looping maneuver. From the left at 450 miles per hour, the Blue Angel fleur-de-lis. Rendezvous complete. The diamond will pass before us and exit the flight line to the right. As the formation passes before us, let's watch as our 2 solo pilots rendezvous at the last minute as they go straight up into the vertical. Passing 90 degrees nose up, Commander Root tilts his head back, picking up the flight line here at Carswell. He's floating the formation to put them directly over center point. Now watch closely as Commander Root calls. Smoke on, ready, break. His aircraft to 500 miles per hour and execute a 1/2 Cuban 8 reversal turn back toward the flight line.
Watch this next maneuver carefully from 6 different directions with maximum speed and minimum separation. They'll converge on center point and cross with a combined closure rate of nearly 1,000 miles per hour.
The 1987 team takes a great deal of pride in saluting Navy and Marine pilots, maintenance crews, and support personnel everywhere. The Blue Angels are very proud to dedicate our flight demonstration to the men who gave their lives for their country. From the right, in salute to the prisoners of war and those missing in action, the Blue Angels, 1987.